Yes, hello everyone. Fáilte Ash Goody Chlorella on Shut Aaron Clare. Welcome back to another weekend review show here on Clare with me, Seamus Brady, your host, and I'm joined by Aaron Pendergast, the man behind Gaelic Games Fan TV. Aaron, do you want to move up a little bit on the screen there, show the fans what you're looking at?
Yeah,
Just a Tipperary jersey there.
absolutely, yeah,
Aaron, do you want to explain to them?
100%.
You've got Tip family, you were telling me there.
Yeah, a bit of royalty in the blood. I said it on my own podcast, but yeah, my the other week, but my great uncle was Jimmy Doyle. So yeah, good bit of hurling heritage. Only met him a few times now. I was quite young when he passed, to be fair. But yeah, a bit of Tipperary, bit of Tipperary in the blood. To be fair, look, I was kind of more aware. Like I got this jersey when I was doing a promotion a few years ago for the channel. So I was wearing this obviously for a bit of crack and everything else for the week that's in it, but really didn't have that. Like if Cork had won it, obviously I kind of wanted Tipperary to win, but like at the same time I was like, I don't really care, if Cork win it, fair play. Do you know what I mean? I'm not I'm not a Tipperary fan. Like I'm obviously a Dublin fan, Dublin true and true. There's no question about that. But yeah, for the day that was in it, why not support a bit of a bit of the Premier County? And to be fair, Jesus, they lived up to their name. They lived up to the performance. They lived up to their, to their county's history, and what they achieved and done. And Jesus, yeah, Cork, like probably the biggest claps I've ever seen in an All-Ireland final.
I've never seen anything like that. I've never
just mental, mental.
Well,
like
I was saying to you there,
yeah.
when the third goal went in, I was like just genuinely sitting there, hands in the head. I was like, what am I witnessing? I've never seen a team look so good to then looking so bad after halftime. I was like, what on earth went on in the Cork dressing room? What on earth went on in the Tip dressing room? Because we'll get into it when we get into the game, but Tip made that one switch. They were playing a sweeper all throughout the first half, then they pushed right up on Cork, showed them no respect, and they went for them in the second half. And just, it was like the minute Cork got tagged, once they had nothing for them in the second half. And I was like, okay, fair enough if your defense is open. But what happened to the attack? I was like, what happened to Hoggy? What happened to Connolly? What happened to Hayes? What happened to Diarmaid Healy? What happened to Decky Dalton? Like all of these class hurlers who've been tearing it up all year suddenly were all off at the exact same time. Darragh Fitz couldn't get his hands on the ball. I was like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And to be honest, I did want Cork to win, I will admit, because A, we're really good friends with Matthew. Would have loved to see Cork win the All-Ireland for Matthew and for Dan, to be fair. But then on top of that, we'd predicted Cork to win. It's always good to have a prediction come true as well. Again, Tip are the underdogs. But again, Tip have only won the All-Ireland there in 2019. Cork haven't won it in 20 years. I always like to see a gap getting bridged. But by God, it just carries on. And we have the comments flooding in here, guys, which I love to see. We have here as well. We have plenty. This looks like you're trying to catch me out or something. So I'm just going to call you Dash Shell. He said, "What's Another Year" by Johnny Logan blaring from the Cork dressing room. And Gavin asked me here, he says, Seamus, what do you think about the Mayo comparisons to Cork? Poor Mayo was mentioned a few times in Aaron's post-match live chat. Aaron, Mayo comparisons, we were saying in the group chat, to be honest, I think this final was way worse than anything that Mayo have done, because genuinely, anytime Mayo went in, with a few exceptions like Tyrone 2021, exceptions like that, but you got Dublin 2017, Meath 96. Mayo usually lost by a point after a replay type thing. Like they went down to the wire. Cork got swept out the gate when they had the game right in the palm of their hands at halftime.
Yeah, no, like I think when we were saying that in the group chat, and even when I was kind of tweeting it out, it was kind of more so at the start of the second half, where you couldn't have foreseen Tipperary were just going to blow them away. It was just like when Cork started missing chances, like Horgan missed that free. They hit the post as well, didn't they? Like twice, and I mean they hit the post 4 times in the second half, which is bizarre. But they hit the post twice in very, very quick succession. Tipperary hit 5 on the bounce just before the goal, and you were thinking, it had resemblances of a little bit of kind of Mayo 2016, a little bit kind of in that, in the drawn game. and maybe 2021 a little bit as well. But the more the game went on, like it's definitely not a fair comparison anymore. Like, because Cork only scored 2 points in the second half, and bizarrely enough, like I seen, it's the worst half of history in an All-Ireland final since Galway in 1887.
Oh my God.
And Galway scored nothing in their second half. So so there you go. Yeah, absolutely.
That's a crazy stat. Do you know what was mental though? Do you know when Connolly Hand stepped up to take the penalty? I was sitting there watching. I'm going, he's going to fucking miss this.
Yeah, we all. Yeah, I was nearly. The only thing I was surprised by was he got on target. I thought he would have ballooned the wide.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way he scores this. I was like, because literally everything is going wrong for Cork. They hit the crossbar from Seamus Hannity. You've got Rhys Shelley coming up and scoring a point from play as well. I was like, everything is going right for Tip. Like, everything is going right for Tip, and everything is going wrong for Cork. And to be honest, I said it in the group chat when the first goal went in from McGrath, I was thinking, okay, this is going to be an entertaining, because I thought at halftime there's a chance here that if Cork get another goal in the third quarter, that Cork could kick on and win this fairly easy. And then when Tip responded, I thought, oh, good. We're going to have a good final quarter here. It's going to go down to the wire, but I still expected Cork to win. And then when the second goal went in from McCarthy's penalty and the red card from Owen Downey, at that point I was like, okay, shit, I actually think Cork are going to lose. I don't think they're coming back from this. And then when the third goal went in, you're like, okay, now it's actually, they're getting hammered. This has gone beyond the point of they're throwing it away. They are imploding at the worst possible time, on the biggest stage of all. And this one is going to sting for a long, long time. And it's going to be hard to come back from this. This would be way harder to come back from, in my opinion, than the Clare final last year, because you knew that you were good enough last year. You were an inch away. This final, like, you got swept at the worst possible time. I still think they're good enough to win in All-Ireland, but by God, they've got a lot to work on when it comes to the mentality and getting over the line when it really matters. Because I mentioned in my quick preview, I mentioned that on Matthew's podcast, Matthew was saying the same thing as well, saying you cannot underestimate the value of Tipperary having multiple All-Ireland winners in their team, like Ronan Marr, like the McGrath brothers, like Jason Ford. I mean, did that experience play into it a little bit? Maybe. But, like, for Cork, do you think just at half-time that they felt like they had it?
Yeah, it was weird, like, because even the body language, like, when they came out at the start, and they looked tired, they looked shattered, they looked leggy, maybe a bit of mental, like, it couldn't have been physical fatigue, so you were thinking maybe it was more mental fatigue or something, but yeah, they just seemed to, like, lose concentration, or and whether that was because collectively they thought the game was done and dusted. It was probably like the goal before half time, probably it should have done them a lot of favors, but it probably did them no favors, because, like, they go 6 points up when they they played all right in the first half, but I thought Tipperary were the better team. They were just missing their chances. Like, Morris was putting chances wide. Tipperary weren't clinical at all, but defensively I thought they were winning battles. Ronan Marr was doing a fantastic job on Brian Hayes, and did so throughout the majority of the game. Brian O'Mara sweeping was doing outstanding as well. So getting that goal, and maybe like that, obviously we can only speculate, but maybe the halftime team talk was a bit soft or something. Do you know what I mean? It was like, just go out there and keep doing what you're doing. We're doing well, blah blah blah. There was no real kind of collective plan to try and stop what Tipperary were doing. It was just more, keep doing what you were doing and it will work. And then it didn't. Like, it just fell apart really. Right from the start of the second half, like, with Horgan missing that chance from about 40 meters. You wouldn't see that too often. And they just completely capitulated. And Tipperary, and it was a weird one, because Tipperary took, there was like 5, 6, 7. It wasn't like they came roaring out of the blocks and got a goal straight away and Cork were on the back foot. Like, Tipperary scored, I think, 5 points before the goal, but it was over like a 6 to 7 minute spell. And they also missed a good few chances in that spell as well. And if Cork had just, ticked over 2 or 3 points in that spell, they might have settled down. They might have been okay. And then, like, with the discipline as well, like, you had Owen Downey getting sent off, Rob Downey getting a yellow. Like, it was, the discipline was all over the place from Cork as well, which you don't see very often.
Yeah, you don't. And I threw that in the group chat. For those not in the know, myself, Aaron, Matthew, Liam, we all have a group chat where you're throwing in opinions mid-game. I said Owen Downey's going to get sent off. Well, when he got a yellow card, I saw him put in a pretty ropey challenge on John McGrath, got away with it. And I was like, he screams to me Johnny Cooper 2019 first final against Kerry, where like a red card can change the complexion of the game, and that could give Cork some trouble. But he got sent off at the worst possible time when Cork actually needed the ship to be steadied. And a shout out to this guy as well. Sean O'Malley says here, I'd hate to be that Cork man who got the tattoo. Hopefully he can turn that 5 into a 6 next year. I mean, isn't that always a common trend? I mean, that's a universal language across every county. Doesn't matter what county you're from. Doesn't matter what club you're from. Doesn't matter what country you're from. There's always an absolute muppet that gets a tattoo like of All-Ireland champions or world champions or whatever sport it is. There's always someone who piles on pressure. Like I remember the Dubs were in the final, and you could tell that the Dublin team manager didn't want people running around with 5 in a row on their jerseys and 5 in a row on their flags. Yet there were people still turning up, decked out in a 5 in a row jersey, pre-ordered, and you're like, all right, lads, that's it. Pile the pressure on them. That's what they need. Like, there's always that. So, advice for the future: please, everybody, learn from this once and for all. Get the tattoo after the game. If you're gonna get the tattoo, get it after you have won the All Ireland. Don't get it before, because I think my dad as well had one friend of his got a Dublin jersey in 1992 when Dublin were supposed to beat Donegal, and basically he said Dublin's sponsor at the time was Arnott's, and he got Dublin All-Ireland champions 1992 written across the jersey, and then of course Donegal beat us in the final, so he ripped off the A and the R and the T and the S, or one of the T's, so it said Dublin All-Ireland champions 1992, not. So yeah, I think we need to learn as a species not to do this anymore. But thanks so much, guys, for dropping the comments in. If you are new to the channel here, we've got 22 people watching live right now. The ticker down the bottom there will tell you how we do things. If you have any thoughts on the game or any of the weekend's action, throw it in the comment section and we will go through it as we go through the games. But this is now an in-depth breakdown of what was a sensational day for Tipperary hurling. So, the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship Final of 2025, Tipperary-3-27, Cork-1-18. Tipperary win their 29th All-Ireland Hurling Title in and set. Unbelievable. Like, just absolutely incredible. Tipperary 327, Cork 118. Tipperary win their 29th All-Ireland title after a second half masterclass where they blew Cork away. They outscored Cork in the second half, 3 goals and 14 points to 2 points. Aaron, this is probably, if not the greatest second half performance we've seen. Like, they blew Cork away. And as you were saying there, it's the worst half performance in an All-Ireland final since 1887, where Galway scored 0 points in a second half. Incredible stats.
Yeah, mental. Like, just a tale of 2 different stories, and like, it was phenomenal from Tipperary. And you have to credit Liam Cahill as well. Like, he got his tactics spot on. Like sweeping Brian O'Mara. Having him as the sweeper, getting more bodies back, like inside their own kind of 20-meter line. It cut the chances off for Cork. Cork really only had 1-2 goal chances in the entire game. They had the 1 goal that they obviously scored. They were obviously trying to force goal chances in the second half, but I wouldn't really say any of them were really clear cut. Like, you had the penalty, but generally, like, that was game plan number. That was the first part of the game plan, was because we know how good Cork are with goals. And then like, they floated a lot of ball on top of Park Collins as well, which was obviously something they must have looked at. And to be fair, in the first half, they weren't really getting much joy from it. They had that goal with Jason Ford, which was ruled out. And then in the second half, they started getting a lot of joy from it. Like, all the goals came from puck outs, more or less, that were just launched on top of Park Collins' head. And John McGrath was, one of them obviously kind of bounced off Collins, and then McGrath kind of picked it up, went around them. But the third goal obviously flowed on top of him. The second one, they worked the penalty. So Yeah, John McGrath did outstanding there. And it's mad, like Tipperary, I think, had 15 wides in the game. So like they still missed a good amount of chances, a good amount of opportunities. And Darren McCarthy as well. Like what a performance. 113. Don't think he missed a free. He looked so calm, so composed. To think of the pressure that he was coming in, as well as a 19-year-old as well. Like, 2 red cards already this year. Missed a couple of chances against Kilkenny when he was on freeze. Jason Ford went on them. Like, I suppose for the fact he's only 19 as well, like to be able to have that kind of mental strength to put that behind you, produce a performance like that, get a goal, score a penalty, like absolutely phenomenal. And I think, all-star young hurler of the year, probably in the conversation maybe for hurler of the year as well. He's probably in there. I'd probably look towards John McGrath or Ronan Marr probably first ahead of him. But he's definitely in the mix.
As well for me. Deserves to be on the show.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I think it was just an unbelievable second half display. Like Scooby here says, 2 points in a second half of an All-Ireland must be a record. Tip were possessed today. Liam is back in the home of hurling, and Brian says Liam Cahill has won an All-Ireland at minor, under 21 and senior level. And when you look at where Tipperary were last year, hammered out the gate by Cork in Semple Stadium, a dark day for Tipperary hurling, and just 1 year later they sweep Cork aside to win their 29th All-Ireland title. Liam Cahill and his whole management team and that squad deserve unbelievable credit, praise and respect for that achievement. That is absolutely sensational as a turnaround. And that second half performance was one of the best performances in a half across Gaelic games that I have ever seen.
Yeah.
I have it here about the second half. So, I mean, we'll look at it this way, right? So in the first half, Tipperary clearly were, cautious about Cork's goal scoring prowess. So Tip played that sweeper in the first half to kind of, stop. So Tip played that sweeper in the first half to kind of stop Cork's attack and goal threat. But Shane Barrett's goal on the stroke of half time seemed at the time like it could have been a decisive blow. Cork go in at half time, 116 to 13 points ahead. Then Tip in the second half scrapped the sweeper, pushed right up on Cork, showed them no respect, and the rest is history. First 10 minutes, Andrew Ormond and McCarthy pointed. Then John McGrath hits the back of the net in the 45th minute. The Morris shot, to be honest, Collins should have let that go over the bar. The minute he batted it down, I was like, oh, that's a mistake. And John McGrath, coolest man in Croke Park, to just tuck that home. Then in the 53rd, was the point where I was like, okay, Cork are done now. Red card for Owen Downey. What a penalty by Darren McCarthy. It's in the 53rd, and all of a sudden it's 220 to 117. And in the 59th, Noel McGrath comes in after a Darren McCarthy free, and then seconds later, John McGrath flicks it to the back of the net to make it 322 to 117. And just in the last 10 minutes, you could tell that anything that could go wrong for Cork was going wrong. I mean, the shot from Harnedy off the crossbar, they get the penalty, and I knew Conor Lahan was going to miss it the minute he stepped up, because that's the way that the second half had gone. Rhys Shelley scoring a point, and then as poetic a finish as you could write, Noel McGrath with the last point of the All-Ireland final, their leader, their captain without having the captain's armband, an absolute legend of hurling, and what a performance by Tipperary. I'm delighted for them. Delighted for their fans. That's the county where the GA began. Congratulations to everyone involved in Tipperary. Have a good night. Enjoy your celebrations. We're the All-Ireland champions for 2025, not just for this year, but for where you came from last year after losing to Cork in Semple Stadium. Delighted for you. Congratulations. We are going to read through some of these comments here. Scooby says, the greatest All-Ireland for any team. As a Tip man, I think it's better than stopping the Cats 5 in a row. That is a hell of a statement. Tim also says that was a factor in why Tip didn't let up on Cork today. Last year, Cork filled Thurles with a sea of red and embarrassed Tip. I'd say that revenge was sweet today. Absolutely was. Brian says John McGrath has 4 Celtic Cross medals. Sean says Darren McCarthy proved the doubters wrong today. So cool and composed with his free taking and overall performance. You wouldn't think he was 19 years old. You were mentioning it earlier, Aaron. This guy has got to be a shoe-in for an all-star, for young player of the year, and outside shot for hurler of the year, I would say as well. I mean, his composure, 113 in an All-Ireland final. bearing the pressure that he was under after his red card in the semi-final and a red card against Cork in the Munster Championship. But he kept the discipline on point in this game. And by God, everything he touched turned to gold. His frees were fantastic in an All-Ireland final. Especially when you have someone like Jason Ford there to be like, nah, I've got this. Shows the confidence that he has for a 19-year-old. This guy's a special talent, man. And, you know, he's got his first All-Ireland at 19. What's he going to have when it's all said and done? I mean, the guy's a special talent.
100%, yeah, he is. Like I don't know if he hit wide. He might have hit maybe. I don't think he hit any wide from place balls. I think maybe he might have hit one maybe from play or something like that. But yeah, an extraordinary performance. Like the composure, the free at the end as well. Like the last one he took. You know, you could excuse him at that stage for missing one or two with Tipperary kind of already having the game done and dusted. But no, like he was involved there as well, like popping the ball over the bar. So yeah, no, he was absolutely phenomenal, as you said. Yeah, like only 19, plenty more years to come. And like watching Tipperary this year as well, winning the All-Ireland, it does remind me a little bit of Limerick in 2018. Now, I'm not saying that the same thing is going to happen in terms of, you know, Tipperary going on and dominating like Limerick. I don't necessarily think that will happen. But, you know, that Limerick team was a very young team. It had young players who had very fresh under 20 All-Ireland success, combined with a few older heads in the team as well. The likes of, like, you know, Nicky Quaid and you know, Shane Dowell and these lads, like they were kind of the older statesmen in the team. And then you had Glan, Hayes, these lads kind of breaking through. And they also finished third as well that year in Munster. And Tipperary finished third this year. So I think there is some similarities there with Limerick from 2018. So it'll be interesting to see how Tipperary do now over the next couple of years. But yeah, they've got some phenomenal players. You know, and they found, I think for a good couple of years, you're always saying they're too reliant on John McGrath and Noel McGrath to bail them out. But now they just have that little bit more in, you know, Sam O'Farrell, Darren McCarthy, Andy Ormond, Oisin O'Donoghue, the young lads kind of coming through. So positive signs ahead for Tipperary. And yeah, you'd say like with a player like Darren McCarthy, they're you know, you'd be very confident he wins, you know, 3-4 All-Irelands probably before it's all said and done, if not even more.
Oh, for sure. And like you think about as well, talented players that they didn't even have this year. I mean, the one that jumped out to me at one point of the year when I was like, oh yeah, he hasn't been playing this year, Garrod O'Connor.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, remember him who was class in the Fitzgibbon Cup and was unreal whenever he went out on the field for Tipperary? Yeah, he'll probably be back. I mean, just they have an unbelievable amount of talent at their disposal, and to bring in the players that they brought in, like Noel McGrath, like Seamus Kennedy, you know, that experience. And then Oisin O'Donoghue comes in, you're like, you don't even need to do anything here, mate. It's already done. And when they brought on Oisin, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if Oisin gets a fourth goal, same way he did against Kilkenny. And I mean, Brian says here, I can't speak highly enough of Ronan Marr. What a leader and a captain. Scooby says, Willie Connors deserves some credit, was immense in the second half today. Buried his uncle 2 weeks ago. A great hurling man. I actually did not know that. I have to be honest. I didn't know that that Willie had lost someone in his family. Like, I mean, again, that speaks to the character. So obviously, massive condolences to the Connors family and anybody who was affected by that. But by God, there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of, you know, charisma. There's a lot of character in that Tipperary team. I mean, Donald O mentioned it before the game about Noel McGrath. Like, people forget, like, Noel McGrath had cancer. And he came back from cancer. He's still playing 10 years later, winning an All-Ireland 10 years later. If that doesn't tell you what this Tipperary team is made of, I mean, as well, though, we do have to talk because, let's be honest, we do have to talk about this. As good as Tipperary were in the second half, Cork were terrible. What the hell happened? Like 116 to 13 points, I was thinking, there's no way Cork don't win this game. What the hell happened?
It's very hard to know, isn't it? It was like, you know, if there's some sort of switch where you could just, you know, turn everything off or something, like like collectively, like because sometimes you do see this where a team will go through a bad patch for 10-15 minutes, a couple of players will look off it, but I've never seen it as bad as that where it goes on for an entire half, and at any stage, like to score 2 points in a half in hurling is unseen. Do you know what I mean? If it happened in football, like if it happened in an underage football game, you'd be questioning what's happening. But for it to happen in an All-Ireland final with a team as good as Cork. Now, look, there was one stage where they were going for goals and they were forcing goals a bit too much. So that probably was also, that probably also led to the reason a little bit as to why they only had 2 points. I think that was a mistake as well. Like they should have kept the scoreboard ticking over. When it was like 8-9 points, there was no need to. There was still 10-15 minutes left. Just get a couple of points on the board, settle down, just take away at it. Look, there was elements of unluckiness as well, hitting the post 4 times. Bizarre. Don't know if that's ever happened before as well. In an All-Ireland final where a team they hit the post 3 times and the bar once. And yeah, just everything that just went wrong did. They just looked leggy, tired, bit of mental fatigue. And it looked like, like whether, like, I don't know if it was pressure really. I think it was more like they thought it was done. They played like they were 15 points up or something like that. They played, do you know what I mean? And they just completely let off it. And I don't think Pat Ryan and his management team were able to find the solutions. I think they panicked a little bit as well. Like Dudsey Healy, Jeremy O'Healy came off. I thought he was having a brilliant game. I don't think he should have came off. I think you should have kept him on. Now whether it was an injury, I don't know. Patrick Horgan comes off. Fair enough, he was very quiet. Probably didn't have his best game. But the players that came on as well weren't really able to get involved. Like Conor Lahan missed the penalty. Wasn't really able to do much. Shamey Harnedy scored a point, but didn't look himself like he's only freshly back from an injury. So yeah, like we spoke about Cork's depth in their team, but it didn't really materialize that way. And look, a lot of that has to go down to Tipperary as well.
Yeah, it struck me as just like an absolute systems failure. Like just the whole team had just gone to the dogs out of nowhere. The puckouts weren't great; they were losing them. The defense was wide open, like wide open. And midfield, they were getting dominated, and their forwards weren't getting quality ball, but also didn't look threatening at all. All of a sudden, Cork had gone from looking like a smoothly operating team on their way to an All-Ireland title, a long, long awaited All-Ireland title. And then in the second half, they just looked so beatable, like so bad. I was like, I can't wrap my head around it. Like, and we've seen instances like that before where teams just get swept out of the gate. Very, very good teams just get swept out of the gate. Like Donegal against Mayo 2013 when they were the All-Ireland champions and Mayo just beat them out the gate. Like, we've seen examples where a good team just falls apart. And that is what we've witnessed here. But Sean here says, it reminds me a bit of Leinster rugby, the way they've capitulated in finals with the window of opportunity closing the more times they fail. And that is a very good point, Sean, because you look at Hoggy, you look at Harnedy, Conor Lahan, Damien Cahalane, players like this that have been on the road with Cork a long time. Is that their best opportunities missed, or do you think they can come back? Because I was saying this one hurts more, in my opinion, than last year. And it's more difficult to come back from. I think if you look at like Mayo, for example, which we're comparing Cork to now, when Mayo lost to Dublin by a point, and when they lost to them next year by a point, they came back because they knew that they were only a little bit away. They knew that they were just a point away, 2 points away. Grain of rice tipped the scale in Dublin's favour on the day. But the one that they didn't come back from was 2021 against Tyrone, where Tyrone beat them at a canter. Cork came back last year when they were so close, extra time. I still maintain that Robbie O'Flynn shot goes in, that Ava Quilligan saved. Cork win the All-Ireland last year. But this, you're miles off it. And the scary thing is Tim is saying it here, like, whatever about how Noel McGrath is important, John McGrath is obviously vital today, Jason Ford has been vital all year, but this Tip team, the trajectory is up. Because Darren McCarthy, Oisin O'Donoghue, these lads are 19, 20. Like, this Tip team is going nowhere, and we could be in for a dynasty. And I'm not just being, in the moment, getting carried away with it. This Tip team has the potential to dominate for years to come.
Yeah, and I like. Did they win the under-20 All-Ireland this year as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've even more players coming through there as well. You know, that probably aren't even in the panel at the moment. But yeah, like in terms of Cork, like it's an interesting one. Like I seen Dan Casey's post on TikTok saying that, you know, he's very, very confident Cork will come back next year and all that. And it's like, I get it. Like they are good enough, definitely, to come back and win the All-Ireland next year. They have the players. There's no doubt about that. They have the talent at their disposal. There's probably going to be more younger players coming through Cork as well. But you do look at it and think there could be a few retirements there. Pat Horgan could potentially go. Shamey Harnedy, maybe. You know, how much longer has Shane Barrett got? Like, there's a few players there who potentially could, and especially after a defeat like that, you know, there's players even that could opt out as well, you know. And it's a difficult one for Pat Ryan because everything's been so right throughout the entire year. You don't want to flip up the script as well. Like, I've seen some people on Twitter saying, get rid of Owen Downey, Rob Downey, get rid of this player, that player. And I think that's just a little bit hyperbolic and jumping too far. Because the core of the players are there. You have great, you know, Conor Lahan, still a fantastic player to come off the bench. You know, and you've got obviously other lads, Robbie O'Flynn, these lads as well. Within time should, you know, probably get back to the standards of playing for Cork. So, but it's just that mental thing again. Like, it's always going to be in the back of their heads. Like, if they get back to an All-Ireland, they could have the most unbelievable year again next year. Breeze the league, breeze Munster. And I know they didn't do that. Like Munster, they won on penalties. But let's say if they just won every game at a Cantor next year up until the final, that is still always going to be in the back of their heads, and it's also going to be there for the teams that are playing them as well. So, like, you know, if it's Clare in the final next year, Tip, Limerick, whoever it might be, maybe Galway, Kilkenny, no matter the team that it is, they'll have in the back of their heads that this Cork team are, you know, could be mentally frail, and could capitulate at any stage. So not to, you know, always to kind of stick with them. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. And like history does suggest as well, like when you look back through history of teams in Gaelic football, back through teams in hurling as well, like it's, you know, there's a few of them that do eventually make the breakthrough, but there's a lot of teams that don't. You know, a lot of teams do. You know, even look at the Galway footballers, like 2 All-Ireland finals in the last 3 years. Now they've lost in the quarters this year. Like, it's, you know, it was always going to be very tough for them to come back after last year. And you feel like it could be the same again for Cork. And like when you think about it as well, look, Clare probably having won it last year, had a bit of an off year this year. They're going to be back next year, no doubt about that. Limerick are going to be in the mix. Tipperary are going to be in the mix. Waterford are going to improve. You know, what's going to happen with Kilkenny? What's going to happen with Galway? Dublin are getting better. Like, so it's, you know, like Cork will be in the mix, but winning the All-Ireland next year is not a guarantee. And there's no guarantee that Cork come back. You know what I mean? So I think this was the chance, you know, to kind of get the monkey off their back and then see what happens.
Oh, it was. And the thing is you have to collect in the here and now. You have to get over the line. You really, really do. Gaelic guy here says, I see a reality where Cork don't get out of Munster. Bizarrely enough, it's not bizarre. Like the All-Ireland champions didn't get out of Munster this year. Yeah, Clare didn't get out of Munster. Look how good Clare are. And they didn't even get out of Munster. Look how good Waterford are, and they didn't get out of Munster. Like, Munster is the most cutthroat competition, in my opinion, that we have in Gaelic games. It's just like you lose one game and you're kind of fucked. You need then to like save yourself. And the thing is I really buy into kind of journeys. And I know the Tip obviously went on one, but Cork have felt like they're on such a crest of a wave from when they saved themselves against Limerick last year. Because it felt like Pat Ryan, remember at the time, it felt like if Cork didn't get out of Munster last year, it felt like Cork would have got rid of Pat Ryan at that time.
Yeah.
And then when they won that game, his job was saved and they ran all the way to the All-Ireland final. But then, even though they lost that, it was clear that Pat Ryan was the right guy for the job. So I thought when they were back here again this year, against a team that they had beaten out the gate the last 3 times that they'd played them. If you were to tell me that Tip would have beaten Cork 3-27 to 1-18, absolutely crazy. And like, if you said the Tip were going to win, fair play. But nobody predicted that Tip would batter Cork. Nobody. I won't hear it. Nobody would have predicted that Tip would have annihilated Cork the way that they did. Nobody would have seen that coming. And the thing is Cork had shown that they could batter people. I was saying on the way in, I think I said it to Matthew, that I said either Tip would win narrowly, Cork would win narrowly, or Cork would win easy. That was the only three ways I saw it going. I didn't see Tip winning easy.
No.
It's just an absolutely outrageously good performance. And yeah, look, one of those performances for Cork where just in the second half, everything went wrong. Do you know what? There's a similar example that's just came to my head. Limerick 1994. 10 minutes to go, they're 5 points up, and then Offaly score 2 goals and end up winning by 6 points against the Limerick team that had the likes of Kieran Carey, Dave Clark, Gary Kirby, like legendary players. And Limerick, similar enough in the 90s, were on the hunt for an All-Ireland for years. And 94 felt like the year that they were finally going to do it. And they were within touching distance, and then Offaly just pulled off one of the most iconic comebacks of all time. So the thing is with Cork, just a message to Cork, don't get too down about it. Like, it's a terrible second half performance. But if you can learn something from Tipperary, look at where Tipperary were last year. You went away to Tip, filled out Semple Stadium full of red, and annihilated Tipperary in their own backyard in one of the darkest days for Tipperary hurling that I've seen. And they looked a million miles off it. Even though we knew that the talent was there, you would have been a brave man to say at that time that Tipperary were going to win an All-Ireland 1 year later. And the way the Tip have rebuilt, there's no reason why Cork can't rebuild the same way. You're right, Aaron. People are jumping the gun a little bit, saying this player's no good, that player's no good, should Pat Ryan leave, yada, yada, yada. The reality is, at half-time, it was there for them. They could have kicked on and won that game. Tipperary came out and put in one of the best second-half displays I've ever seen. Cork were terrible, though, as well, and didn't stand up to them and weren't threatening down one end and were wide open down the other end. They are good enough to win an All-Ireland. It's just a question of can they come back again? Because, the work rate has to be off the scale. You have to want it so badly. And the problem is now is that's 3 finals that this team has lost. 2021, 2024, and now 2025 that they've lost. So, and Tipperary have got the taste for winning as well. They're going to take some stopping. I can't believe it. We'll run through the scores as well to give a shout to everybody who got on the score sheet for Tip. Darren McCarthy, as I said, with 113. John McGrath with 2-2. Jake Morris with 3 points. Jason Ford with 2. Andrew Orman with 1. Connor Stakeland with 1. Willie Connors with 1. Rhys Shelley, Owen Connolly, Robert Doyle, and Noel McGrath, the legend himself, all with 1 point. So that's it. All-Ireland wrapped up for 2025. Tipperary are the All-Ireland Hurling Championship. And I'm getting delusional. Tipperary are the All-Ireland Hurling Champions for 2025. Massive congratulations to the Premier County on one of the best second-half performances I have ever seen. An absolute masterclass. Then congratulations. They will be celebrating and blaring out Slievenamon wherever there is a blue and gold jersey and a pint tonight.